Hey, what up? Thought I would play some Team Fortress 2 for a little bit. Figured why not go live? Check in with the YouTube viewers. See how you been. I'm on a community 2 fort server because apparently the queue is just busted. And I can't get into a Valve server. So just gonna be on 2 fort. I looked at like the community maps, the community servers, just to see if there was anything interesting. And then I realized and/or remembered that just nobody runs community servers anymore. Unless it's like Jailbreak or Death Run. Or Saxton Hale. Which I thought about playing, but I figured if I'm gonna stream TF2, I might as well just play TF2, you know what I mean? Play creators. Oh yeah, I know about creators.tf, but I don't, I didn't see it in the listing. If they have a vanilla server, I wouldn't mind playing on it. Yukon. You can count on me to join that server. Why are you an anime girl? Oh, you must be new here. I've always been an anime girl. That's just been like an established fact for the last 6 years. Seven years ago it wasn't established, but 6 years ago it got like locked in that I was an anime girl. So here I am. Anyways, how are you guys? It's been a while since I've really interacted with my YouTube viewers. I don't stream that much on Twitch, but like I've now and then the last few months I popped over there. But it's been a long damn time since I've looked at the YouTube chat. By the way, I'm playing in windowed mode because apparently the YouTube app doesn't let you look at your chat. So if you wonder why does the game look so low resolution, that's why. I'm running it at like 1300 resolution. Does FUNKe say trans rights? Trans rights. There you go. He does say it. I'm seeing a lot of error signs on this server. I'm guessing that's because I'm on on creators. Maybe they're like, oh, you know what it is? No, you don't, but I'm gonna tell you. There's an option, and I have it set to only allow map files. So I think there's like custom hats on this server, but I didn't download them. So there's just a fat red error sign just hovering over some classes.
We have secured the control point.
I'll try to get on a normal server. Honestly, there's so many bots in TF2. Just if you're curious, there's so many bots, it's not even really worth trying to get onto a normal server. I've gone to some TF2 servers where it has literally just been one team with 8 bots and like no one else on the server. Like they've taken the Valve servers hostage. So just if you're curious at the state of the game, that's currently where it's at. I'm pretty sure your eye's infected. I scratched it and that might have... I think it's infected now. That's why I scratched it. I was gonna give you a literal explanation, but I decided to give you a double literal explanation. It's infected. Who are you again? That's a good question. I'm figuring out day by day, little by little, who I am. You know, just chipping away like a stone, like a marble statue. You know, Squidward taking a hammer to the marble statue and slowly sculpting a fine specimen of a being. That's what I'm doing. Oh, you meant like literally. I made TF2 commentaries and then video game essays. And then I stopped uploading for 6 months. But in my defense, I was very happy with my last video. And I've been busy in real life, so I haven't been uploading as much as you would probably expect someone who's a YouTuber to do. But I'm still here. Just been working on myself. By the way, I've got my chat open and I'll try to read stuff, but it's YouTube chat's a bit faster than my Twitch one, so if I miss your message, nothing personal. Opinion on OK Human. Weezer put out a new album, for those curious. I'm the guy that updates you. It was a very good album. It was... So, like, a year ago, I think, Weezer did a song for Frozen 2 called Lost in the Woods. Actually, pretty good song. Very theatrical. I don't know how to describe it. Not big band music, but... I don't know. Big... I don't know what the term for the genre is. Very piano intensive. They had to get like a 30-man... I wish I could remember what the word for it is. Oh, I found a server. I guess it's like... No, because TF2 is big. Chat, orchestral, thank you. Thank you, Kino. Yeah, it's an orchestral album. I was blanking on the name. Great album. It's hard to have strong opinions. Best songs are Numbers, Grapes of Wrath, and... I'm gonna look at the list just so I can remember. Bird with a Broken Wing. Probably the top 3 songs off of that album. And they said that they would consider doing Pinkerton in that style. I would love to see that, like orchestral style. But we'll see. Thoughts on the state of play in the Nintendo Direct. Initially, I had positive opinions of it. Overall, though, it's like, it was kind of a holdover. Nintendo Direct. They didn't really give us anything. That's usually, like, I just want one big takeaway from a Nintendo Direct. One game within the next 3 to 5 months that's gonna eat up some of my time, but I didn't really get that. I thought I would like the Triangle JRPG, but I played like an hour of it, and it was all mashing A through dialogue, and a really boring combat system. So I didn't end up liking that. I regret trying to download all of the hats, because I'm going to be loading for an hour if I try to do that. So I'm just going to play with the arrow signs. What's the animation on the right? What, you mean my webcam? Yeah, normally I would have like music playing here, but I don't. I figure I'm so entertaining that it's not necessary to keep your attention. By the way, I've got my particulate protector on every class. Just making sure I'm keeping 6 feet distance and spawn, except Pyro, who can't equip it, but their face literally is a mask, so that's an exception. But everyone else is like ready, even the heavy. I don't know if this is medically approved, but I like the hat too much. I know this is what you all came for. FUNKe hasn't uploaded in 6 months, and you're wondering, what does his TF2 loadouts look like? Well, don't worry, I got you covered. FUNKe, what are your thoughts on wide-scale famine? I think if artificial intelligence awakens and the computers automate everything, they'll be able to fix the global famine just by instating UBI so everyone can afford food. Also 3D printing. The computers will be able to just print food out of thin air. So hopefully like that comes in the next like 10 years. And then we won't have to worry about famine anymore. It'll just be gone. I need you to say this Polish tongue twister. That's probably a racial slur. I'm not gonna say it out loud. I don't know why I assume that, but anytime someone puts something in a language I can't read, I gotta be careful. It's YouTube. Walking on eggshells at all times. Do it? Well, it's already scrolled up on my screen. It's not that I'm afraid to read. Not that I'm afraid to mispronounce any foreign words, but I've spent the last minute explaining why I won't, and not actually doing it, and now I don't want to go back on my word. Can you put your songs on Spotify? I don't know if how many of you guys know, but I've been dipping my toes into political rap. I'm thinking of becoming like a full-time political rapper. But you have to pay money to get your songs on Spotify, and I only have like 2 political raps released, and it's too much work to get the Lunchbox mixtape on there. You have to get like rights, or I have to get the instrumentals remade. You know, yeah, I figure everyone here follows me religiously, but I just thought I would clarify that I think I'm gonna change the political field. I'm gonna recruit a lot of commies over the next year or 2. Boomer? I don't know if you were trying to say boomer or boner, but thank you for typing in my chat. Appreciate you even coming out here. You're hot, thanks. I'm underage, but I got my hair done, so I take the compliment. I just saw that VTubers are like a big thing now, and I thought, you know, I was the first VTuber, so I should really be reawakening that part of me. So here I am. Titanfall 2 video win. Boy, I have some good news for you. Oh, I have a lawsuit pending for every VTuber, but it's a pretty long court case, so I'll keep you updated. My best friend, the error sign, wielding a flamethrower. I can't even read chat, it's too fast. It's kind of nice, honestly. I've been like off the grid for the last 6 months. You don't even know. You guys want to hear some real messed up shit? I crashed my car in the last 6 months, and that's why I haven't made a video. And that's why I became a political rapper, because I had to... I don't know why. Just cars reminded me of politics. I'm just trying to segue back into my YouTube, my SoundCloud rap career. Is the car okay? No, I think it got like turned into a cube or something. You alright? Yeah, surprisingly. I'm doing just fine. Watch the road. That's like the takeaway. Did you live, do you see me in the bottom right? Do you think I'm alive right now? I was reincarnated. Which I know doesn't align with my explanation earlier, but in my defense, I think there can be 2 explanations.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
I could be an AI. If you believe in simulation theory, then technically we are. Although the term AI is kind of offensive because it implies artificial, whereas like a computational intelligence isn't really any more artificial than a human. And I'm pretty damn sure, you know, a bearded guy didn't pop us into the world. I think a bearded computer popped us into the world. And that's where VTubers come from. Just fun fact. You're having a stroke? No, I'm just a YouTuber.
Mission begins in 10 seconds.
Okay Human is on par with the White Album. It's like a 9 out of 10. Maybe an 8.5. I would maybe take it down. I don't know if I would... I feel like it deserves to be on par with the White Album just because it was the kind of experimental that I wanted Pacific Daydream and the Black Album to be. When those albums came out, it was like Rivers was just sort of appealing to a formula, but he wasn't really trying to break the mold or set a standard, or even really just, I don't know, push himself sonically. But with OK Human, I think he's done that. And I think I shouldn't give him all the credit. Weezer, as a collective, I think they pushed themselves. I think it was a very mature album. Where's the bomb? Oh, I ate it. To my tummy. Currently being digested.
Hey, we gotta stop it.
I don't think there's gonna be a day where I don't go live and talk about Weezer. Like, I'm going to be in my 50s, be live streaming and just talking about alt rock, power pop. Why are your eyes weird? That, you can't say that out loud. It's 2021. Come on, man. Have some dignity. When's the next Titanfall 2 video? Right after my my 4-hour Team Fortress 2 review. I've gone through a couple of different ideas for what my next video would be. Spoiler, I'm not that far in. Like, it's not going to be out for a while. But I thought of doing a Funk TV where I did a tier list of every TF2 map. That was one of them that hit the chopping block. But I think it hit the cutting room floor. I don't expect to make that video. Or at least anytime. Oh, nice loadout. Look at this guy. I don't expect to make that video anytime soon. Because I got pretty far into it, and I could have a lot of fun with the Funk TV element. I could do anything in the Funk TV format. But I was worried that it would be too educational and not entertaining enough. Which is like a balance I try to strike with my videos. If I think like it's a good video topic, but it's kind of boring to listen to, or I can't crack enough jokes, I tend to like lower prioritize that. The next video I had in mind is sort of like the general video essays that I usually aim for, but I don't have too much info to share on that. Thank you, gamer man. I am a good YouTuber. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but my self-confidence has gone up over the past half a decade. Same old Funk, but improved. Funk 2.0. I think I'm probably like Funk 5.0 at this point. What was the vid that was almost done with the Patreon post? The vid that was almost done? I haven't posted on Patreon in like 4 months, so you're honestly gonna have to refresh my memory. I cannot even remember. Why stream on YouTube, not Twitch? Just to change it up, because I'm always like, I've always had like this pride problem with YouTube, which is like I put a lot of elbow grease into my videos, and when I decided to do Twitch, I didn't want to spam people's feeds, so I stopped. I didn't stream on YouTube, but yeah, after how long of a year I had in 2020, I've kind of decided to not let that dictate my profession. I've decided to not be scared of going live on YouTube. That's why I'm live here, just because I thought, you know, never stream here. I don't got anything else going on today.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
I spend like 2 hours in Ableton trying to make a song. I would describe the song I made today as like a political rap over a Undertale beat. Gonna let you play with your imagination and imagine what that sounds like. Funk, will you marry me? Sorry, I'm already married. To the grind.
Mission begins in 30
to the grind of being a gamer. I play I go on a date with Smite every night. Queue up once. I usually lose, but it's fun.
Mission begins in 10 seconds. 5, 4,
Yeah, yeah.
2, 1. To the cult.
What happened to Voltroid? She's just going through school right now. Talk to her about daily. Are you having a stroke? How do I know? Is there a way to verify it? Is there like a test I can do? Is there like a test online that tells me if I'm having a stroke? If so, I'll take it and let you know.
Get on the cab, guys. Pushing this thing or what?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happened to you? I think you should be asking what why hasn't anything happened? Because this is a repeat gimmick. I don't know if you've ever seen my streams, but this is actually not original. It's original in that I created being a VTuber, but it's not original in that I've done it before. If you mean in general, I've just been like vibing. Would it confuse chat to say that, like, usually I talk about, like, usually I joke that I'm on the line between Zoomer and Millennial, but I honestly, I've been embracing my inner Zoomer over the past, like, year, half a year. My taste in comedy has dissolved to the point that I'll just go E. Just when I'm bored and elicit a chuckle. Like, I don't even need punchlines anymore to be entertained. I don't have the patience to play story-based games. I bought Cyberpunk, and then I didn't even play it. Because I didn't have the patience to pay attention to the story of it. So I have no attention span. I get into arguments with my parents all the time. I think I'm a Zoomer. I think, like, I can settle the argument. Like, I might, from an age perspective, be on the line, but I am, in all ways, except physical, a Zoomer. Spiritually, I'm just saying that to, like, to know, like, the next video I get, it'll really resonate with all of you. Unless you've been watching me for a while, and then we're both old. In which case, welcome to the club. I hope in the future I can like the human body can be modified to the point that I can focus my eyes in 2 ways. So I can have my left eye focusing on the game and my right eye focusing on the YouTube chat. So I can be like a maximum gaming machine, responding to every comment. Right now I have to keep darting my eyes, so if you see me run into a soldier, that's why. You stoned right now? Nah, dude. What makes you think that? No, drugs are bad. There is a dispensary near me that I have gone to before. I don't know how much I can talk about it because it's not legal in Georgia. Shockingly, but I'm a big proponent that marijuana should be legalized just for tax purposes. There's like a $2 billion industry in Colorado on the taxation of cannabis. Sorry, I'm very political now. I'm a political funk, and part of that involves speaking out for the stoners. As the famous rap artist Funk once said, "I like it when Link is a stoner." You smoke weed? I used to smoke it a lot, but over the past like 3 months, I've cut down my habits greatly. Just because I found my paranoia could really spike up, especially like because I haven't been actively working. So if I smoke, but I'm not getting any work done, I get anxious and, you know, paranoid on like, oh, is the work I'm doing coming out the way I want it to? So I haven't been smoking really at the degree I used to. But I've been known to partake before. Did the scout just curse? The scout just cussed. He said HE double hockey stick. That's messed up. Good anxiety? I mean, I'm not saying that I can't smoke and not be anxious, or I can have like a level-headed anxiety where it's like an awareness of my life. I don't mind that kind of high anxiety where it's like, damn, I'm really a human. I'm really in this shit. But I have that anxiety without smoking. That just kind of exacerbates it. On a daily basis, I'll do that thing where you look at both of your hands and you're like, shit, I'm really here. Try it right now. Just look at your hands and just think like, damn, I'm in this. Now imagine being like 2 blunts in on some strong indica. And you would not want to smoke for a couple days minimum yourself. I really do be human. You know, for a while I was embracing technology. But I think I'm like returning to my monkey roots recently. I found myself scratching under... Where am I running? Scratching under my armpits. Sometimes in the shower, I'll just go like... Whoop, whoop, whoop. Again, zoomer humor. I'm going monkey mode again. I feel like I feel like robots are out. I think I've passed my AI FUNKe phase. Or no, it's like I'm double drifting. I'm double drifting AI with monkey mode. I'm on a whole different level. Shroom talk? I've never taken shrooms. I've never taken any type of psychedelic. I've had the option available, but I wussied out because I didn't want to mess up my brain. And I say that like, I'm gonna citation here that psychedelics can be beneficial to people. I would want to see them more medically. What's a synonym for observed? Medically. Blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to think of the word. Researched. I want to see them researched more before I put that kind of thing in my body. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, regulation's a big thing too. If you're just getting like mushrooms or acid just from like a random person, like a dealer. Like I used to have a weed dealer and he couldn't even tell me what strain I was smoking. It was way too strong, by the way. I stopped getting his weed. So now imagine getting like too strong psychedelics. That shit could literally leave you wigging out for the rest of your life. Just because, like, you put something too strong in your body, it throws off how your body functions. Pun intended. Which is, like, another problem, because too strong weed... What do you mean? Weed can be super strong. Maybe, like, in the 80s, weed was, like, just, like, a light drug. But it's, like, 2021. There are strains of weed that might as well be psychedelics themselves. Or at least I've heard them described that way. I can't compare the experience. I'm not high right now. I can tell you that. A big problem is that a lot of drugs in America, but really just globally, they're like super illegal. If you get caught with them, you can have prison time. You can't access them. And a big problem with that is, one, some of them have medical benefits that we can't study. A second problem is that people are gonna do these drugs anyways, we might as well make sure they're getting like the cleanest version of it, and then we can offer them rehab if they want to get off of it. We shouldn't be arresting people for doing drugs. We should be offering them rehab. Like, hey, you're doing... Like, I'm not saying that... I'm not a proponent for legal meth or heroin by any means, but it would be better to legalize those things and then offer people the help to get off of them than it is to arrest them because you catch them doing it. It makes no sense. We have draconian drug laws in America, but it's the same everywhere. Also, like, to go back to the taxation point, we would be putting so much money into our economy if we tax these substances. People would know what they're getting. A lot of people, like, they don't know what they're putting into their body just because they don't have that many options to get it. But, you know, you could regulate it. Another thing is the pharmaceutical industry is a plague in America. Corporations in general are a major problem. They pull a lot of the strings in our government and are, like, aligning senators' pockets. But one way that you could... funny ragdoll. One way that you could combat the pharmaceutical industry stranglehold would be legalizing some of these alternative medicines. There are a lot of people that are on opiates, like Xanax. I don't know if Xanax is a good comparison, but they're on some of these opiates when they could just be smoking a doobie for their pain relief. There are people that get, like, I have family members that crash their car on opiates. There are so many examples of opiates ruining people's lives in a way that alternative medicines would have been beneficial to them. So, if you legalized marijuana and some other stuff, I don't know, like psychedelics, I don't know if you would want to replace opiates with psychedelics medically, but, like, for PTSD, for treating certain types of medical conditions, I could see it. Is this supposed to be satirical? No, these are my earnest opinions. I might not be articulating them in the most preferable way, but I think it's like a logical argument. If you disagree, I welcome it in chat. I'd love to have a conversation about it. Do you think this is probable? Not currently, because conservatives and neoliberals don't want progress in this country. I think if there is a rise in progressive ideologies, we could get to that point. But the problem is a lot of our existing politicians like getting paid money by people that give them money. And the people that give them money are the pharmaceutical industries that don't want weed to be legal because the tobacco industry probably doesn't want weed legal either. A lot of lobbyist monies. The fundamental problem is really money in politics. If we got money out of politics, then we could kind of wean out all of the bad faith politicians over time. But, like, if you're looking at the surface level issue, it's just that there's a lot of corporate interests that don't want those progressive policies. And I know I'm speaking like a politician right now. Like if you just walked in here, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm a radical communist lefty, if you don't know me. If you haven't tuned into my content in a while, I know I talk about the goofy video games. But
Mission begins.
That's what I would be considered. I'm not literally a communist, but yeah, I'm just saying. No, because I feel like man, I could just go on. A big problem in our country is it's all ad hominem, trying to prove that the person that you disagree with is wrong and not actually trying to put up meaningful policies. That's why I can bag on both neoliberals and conservatives. Like, I know I'm talking like I'm in a position of like, oh, I'm so much better. But A lot of the modern political hemisphere is just they're wrong, we're right, and very little of substantive policy. There's not pressure on the thing, especially just because between like there are. I'm thinking about how specific I want to get into this. With the rise of people like Trump, where it's basically a cult of personality, where it's more about the person you're voting for than it is the policies you're voting for. When you have politics being surrounded by those kind of figures, it's hard to have conversations about how to make the country better when both sides are just saying, vote for me or the other guy is going to ruin everything. Which isn't even like an argument. That's just hand waving. That's just fake newsing away, you know, reality. That's fake newsing away having to be the adult in the room that says, hey, we have our prisons full of people for minor offensive, non-violent offenses. Why do we have them locked up in the middle of a pandemic, no less? If you want me to go back to the weed argument, how many people are locked up in prisons right now because they got caught with some drugs? And they're probably going to, like, how many people are going to die of COVID in a for-profit prison? I mean, even in a non-profit prison, it's just as bad. But there are a lot of for-profit prisons, which shouldn't even exist, by the way. I wish I could go more in detail on what a for-profit prison is. I'm not really educated enough to describe it. It's just like using, it's like using prisoners for slave labor, arguably. Maybe not. Honestly, yeah, they're not getting paid as if they were like a full-time employee. They're stripped of their voting rights. People in prison for non-violent offenses should still be able to vote. I don't feel like that's a communist, like, extremist point of view. You might have, like, done something that's not legal, but you still live in the country. You should really be able to, like, elections still affect you, right? Like, maybe you can put up an argument that if you killed someone, you shouldn't be able to vote. So, like, there are some people that would argue it, and I would at least listen to it. I don't know if I agree with it, but if you're in a prison in our country, you should still be able to vote. You guys want to talk about voting? There were some recent measures in Georgia to further suppress voting, which is just making it harder to get out and vote. There was something about, like, making it harder to vote on Sundays, and there are a lot of religious black communities in Georgia that would have specific events where they would go out and vote together, and the new voter suppression measures make it specifically harder for them. Because Georgia is fucked, and it's one of the most voter-suppressed states in America. Gerrymandering's a big problem here, which is basically just drawing the... Sorry, I'm a gaming YouTuber, so it's hard for me to go into detail, but gerrymandering's a major problem in this country, which is just drawing the district lines for, like, who votes where. There are some people who have to drive like an hour to even vote because the way the precincts are set up, it just looks like a long rectangle, and they might live at the bottom of the rectangle, and they have to drive to the top of it to give you the best possible explanation. That kind of shit's fucked. And very prominent in my country. Certainly some other countries. Didn't Georgia elect for the extremist canon woman? I have no idea what that means. If you want to elaborate, you can. There was Stacey Abrams should have won, but Kemp I'm pretty sure he between voter suppression making it harder for minorities to vote and him pulling in favors to you know, this is kind of a controversial statement, so I don't want to say that Kemp, like, found the votes per se, but maybe some of Stacey Abrams' votes hadn't been counted. He had the authority to do that thing. He won by like 50.2%. I'm not saying that it was a stolen election, but would have warranted a recount, and I can't remember if it actually got a recount. To my knowledge, it didn't. That kind of stuff peeves me off. I had to wait 2 hours in line to vote, by the way, for the general election. Stuff like that is fucked. One time I went in to vote, and they make it as difficult as possible. So it was inside like a middle school. I had to go through I had to take 7 different turns in this middle school to even find where to actually vote. I had to follow the arrows. Once I got there, they had like 5 signs that said purple, blue, green, red, yellow. And then they had 5 other signs that said 1 through 5. And then they told me to go to number 3, and then I walk over to booth number 3, and then they said, no, you have to go to green. So I had to go to a different booth, which was green, and then I had to go to number 3. They make it so fucking confusing. It's 2021. You would think that we could improve the system of voting. By the way, voting isn't a national holiday in America. You have to, you have to just find the time off of work in your own schedule to go out and vote. You know why? Because if voting was a holiday, more people would vote. And you know what would happen if more people would vote? Change would happen. And there are a lot of people who like abusing the system that's already in place. I'm out. I'm in. If I got off to school, I'd vote. Yeah, this is a problem. People should be able to easily access voting. You shouldn't have to wait 2 hours to vote. You shouldn't have to drive 2 hours to get to your precinct. And you sure as fuck shouldn't have to make the time out of your own day to vote. There should be a specific day where everyone has time off of work to go in and vote. In Georgia, sometimes they'll only have like, you'll only have like 1 precinct to visit, and they'll have like 5 stations, so the line just backs up outside of the building. Oh, I could go on. You know, I actually at one point was considering making a video on my main channel talking about how fucked politics are in Georgia, how corrupt the system is, how hard they make it to vote. My life ended up getting busy to the point that I haven't been able to make that. But it's on my mind all the time. You should. I still want to, but I need to find the way to articulate it. I was hoping to make the video before Kemp was up for re-election, because I was hoping maybe I could convince a couple other Georgians to get out and vote and get him out, because I do not like him as a politician. But I think his re-election's already gone up. I'd have to look into it. I might like pull a John Oliver and release the video near his re-election. That would be a main channel video, not a FUNKe. I think it's too important of a topic. I think playing TF2 is actually kind of fitting, because it's like a metaphor for modern politics, where it's red and blue fighting over, like, and they, well, I would say like 5 years ago, the sides were not that different, but post-Trump era, I think the sides are very different. One is like a corpse, and one is a corpse covered in thorns in a explosive payload that's moving right towards your house. Take a guess which is which. After watching the impeachment trials, like, I can't... So I used to be not centrist-y, but I was not a fan of, like, the Democratic Party, and I still have plenty of problems with it. But after watching Mitch McConnell go out there and say, Trump, without a doubt, incited the Capitol riots, and he was to blame for, you know, the things that happened, the insurrection, and we are going to vote to acquit him of the impeachment. Like, Republicans got up on stage, said, yeah, he kind of did rile people up and send them to the Capitol where everything, you know, went downhill. But we're not going to punish him for it because he's on our side. That's basically what happened. Whether or not you agree with me, you're allowed to have your own opinion, but Republicans, from my observation, do not hold each other, and certainly not the higher authorities, to any kind of accountability whatsoever. They don't. They're spineless. And Democrats are spineless in a lot of ways too, because they don't subpoena as much as they should. They don't use the powers they should, even when they have the Senate and the presidency and the House. They still don't push through the meaningful policy that they should be. They still tippy-toe on the stimulus packages. They're it's not even comparable compared to Republicans, but both sides are. Let's just say it's painful being an American who wants the best for like everyone, not even just Americans, but just people and humanity in general. Politics bad. I'm gonna assume you're joking. There are some people that go full doomer mode, and they say like, why even bother following politics? Both sides are the same. People, especially in the middle of a pandemic, people are dying. It affects everyone personally. And frankly, if you like weed, like, you just have to be political, because that's like an example of one of the stupidest parts of modern society, which is like, hey, America is all about freedom and we make our own decisions. America, fuck yeah! But also, you can't put substances into your body if you want to. But also, America, you can control your own destiny. Except for when the government says you can't. What are you talking about? I'm talking about like 7 things at once. Just politics in general. I'm hoping, like 15 to 20 years down the line, more progressive politicians will have a platform. I was super banking on Bernie, and it hurt me because I followed him like through Super Tuesday. And when he dropped out, I was, for a moment, I wanted to be doomer mode and be like, man, things are not going to get better. But seeing him fight for like 70 years, seeing people like AOC take all of like just the verbal abuse that they get on Twitter and from the opposing party, just in general from dissenters, those kind of politicians keep me invested. Like, if people like that can keep fighting through the hopelessness that is modern politics, then I, as a voter, can get out to vote and at least, care. And I wish I could name more progressive politicians. I can't. I really can't name any others off of the top of my head. I like to think I'm politically active, but if anything, that's honestly a testament to the fact that we don't have enough progressive commie politicians. I'm gonna stop doing the commie joke because some people probably take it very seriously, and I just want to clarify. Obviously, social democracy. I'm actually a socialist. It's a common misconception. I don't know. I was all about social democracy, but after the pandemic, I might be a democratic socialist. Who knows? I'm not. I haven't taken the alignment chart test yet. Everyone called Bernie a socialist, but what he was all about was social policies. It would still be capitalism. It's not trying to fundamentally break down capitalism and replace it with socialism. It's about having more socially central policies. Like, we all pay to make sure roads don't have holes in them, right? So, we should pay so that our lower end can still provide for themselves. When people can't find work, they can still pay for rent and groceries. That's basic stuff. So people don't go bankrupt off of one healthcare, off of one trip to the doctor, to the hospital. healthcare should be a human right, but in America, it's something that that no one wants. That a lot of politicians, both conservative and like neoliberal, is like a very broad term, so I don't want to keep using it. But a lot of the Democratic Party doesn't want to talk about healthcare either. Climate change, they're a lot better at, but didn't Biden, like, he refused to do Medicare for all, and he's trying to come up with his own plan, and we're gonna fix Obamacare. Listen, I'm all for actually trying, like, doing more in terms of healthcare, but it's I was more of a proponent for Medicare for all, or if not Medicare for all, something that had like something that had more of an effect than just tweaking the system we have now that doesn't cover everyone. Oh yeah, and raising wages. The minimum wage should be like $20 a minimum, just for inflation, but a lot of politicians aren't ready to talk about that. They're finally talking about making it 15, and then Biden went behind closed doors and said like he's not totally committed to making it $15 either. So he says that it will be $15, but then we still have to like fight tooth and nail to even get that shit. Should be $7. Because the modern political, not even political, but the modern American system is so broken. It's like, oh, we can pay our employees $7 an hour because they get tips and we give them health care. When really health care should be provided by the government, and we shouldn't have to rely on tips to begin with. We should just pay our employees more. How about this? Just pay the employees more, and then you don't have to tip them. If people were making $20 an hour, they wouldn't have to rely on your generous 20% tip to make rent or to send their kids to college. You want to talk about college? I dropped out because I was in for like 3 weeks, and then I went in for the conversation about financial aid, where they said, all right, you can go through college, but you're going to have to incur some debt. And I didn't have the money to go into that kind of debt. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to drop out and hope that I can be a YouTuber and streamer, because I don't need that burden. Some people do, but you don't need a degree to be a YouTuber. So this is why I've been political, because it's never ending. When you really start digging into it, there's so much that all of the 60-year-olds running our country just don't want to talk about. I got mine. Why don't you get yours? I've had conversations with my family where they act like, well, I'm doing fine. So what's the problem? Because they're so fundamentally disconnected from the world. This applies really to like a lot of our country, but so many people are disconnected from the world, they don't realize like how many people are getting mistreated. Sorry, I'm not sorry for going on that spiel, but if anyone got lost along the way, I'm sorry for not being more articulate on it. I tend to like read up on politics, but I don't usually talk about it super brazenly, so feel free to, you're welcome to like ask questions or talk about it yourself, or even give me your own opinions, even if they differ. Now, do religion. I think everyone is welcome to have their own opinion, their own belief systems, but I think it should not prevent other people from making their own choices. Like, this is going to be a controversial one. I'm pro-choice. I don't think religious views should allow any amount of people to say that you can't make those kind of decisions with your own body. Trans rights. And I know that one is a hot topic. It's sort of it's... I don't want to get into the specifics of that, but that's the closest thing I can politically discuss religion. I'm not a religious person, or at least I don't ascribe to any contemporary religion. I was brought up Christian. Like, I went to a Christian school, and it felt like I was being indoctrinated into a cult. Like, I would have to sit down in class and recite, not poems. What are they called? Not hymns. Religious... I don't even care. I'm so non-religious, I can't even say what the word is. It was just like reciting things and say, don't make God angry, don't make God cry, or you're gonna burn in hell. I think that's problematic to try and make... I like to... This one's tricky. Honestly, it's hard for... I wish I could be more articulate on it. I like to focus in base reality, in the world that I see, in the things that I can scientifically prove. If you want to have your own belief system, you're more than welcome to do it. But I don't think it should be a factor on how we govern. I don't think it should I think you should focus on reality and not like faith. Like, you shouldn't argue in faith or believe in faith as much as you should just believe in what is verifiably reality. And if you really want my religious opinions, I would love to hear what chat's opinion is of this. I think, with increasing plausibility, the world is probably something comparable to a simulation. Maybe not, like, simulation is such, like, that's, like, sort of gamifying, or, like, it undersells what I mean. I think, like, the universe is sort of not maybe designed in any way, but it's... I'm gonna explain reality to you right now. I think, boom, the first particle just pops into existence, and it was like it wasn't sentient, but it started self-replicating, like a little nano machine, if you will. And it just kept replicating until it got bigger and bigger, until the universe became what it is now. And I don't think it was that it was invented by any, like, all-knowing being, so much as it just came into existence. Like, you could probably run a simulation of just, like, a single particle self-replicating and becoming a more complex system. That's my guess. I will admit I don't have, like, verifiable evidence in that. But I think, like, that's more... That aligns more with, like, science and... our understanding of the universe more than, you know, a faith argument would. Stupid guess. I don't think I explained it well. And honestly, like I said, I'm not a religious person. I tend to live very secular. I like being philosophical and wondering, like, what does it mean to be, how does one pursue happiness? But I don't think the pursuit of happiness necessitates finding an answer to the beginning. I think you can kind of just leave it to be an open-ended guess and not have it dictate your life. Like, when I'm making decision, it's, will my life be better? Will I be a better person if I do this? It's not because I think the first molecule in the world wanted this. Like, I don't think there were listed out rules on how you have to be a person. I think society is just all of us beings kind of agreeing, like, all right, we all want to be here, more or less. We all want things to be better. So how about we just work together to make it better? Again, I would love to be able to speak about, like, existence and religion on the same degree of passion I can politics, but that one is so... It's hard to speak about. So I welcome chat trying to, like, you know, softball me your explanations. You're kind of right. I just wanted to see what would happen if I took a positron and electron and throw them together. Well, I gotta say, good job. Like, I'm Team Fortress 2 exists, and I love this game, so I would call the universe not a mistake. I love how I look to chat to get some, like, inquisitive, like, philosophical takes on the universe, and I just see anime girl drunk. Never change, guys. And beings. Guys, girls, people of all peace. I just prefer beings at this point. It's like, I feel like that's... You understand what I mean. We're all being. We're all people. How are the equality and rights over in America? Equality and rights? Well, there is a lot of racial discrimination in ways that people don't want to talk about. You know, people of color do still find it harder to get work. Like, if you have a remotely black name, you're more likely to get passed over on, like, a job application. That kind of stuff still exists. I want to scroll back up so I can, like, really digest your question more. It's not, like... I'm not gonna say that there haven't been improvements, but racial discrimination's still a thing. The accruement of wealth from slavery is, like, billionaires shouldn't exist, fundamentally, right? And one of the problems with that is a bunch of white dudes exploited the labor of minorities and black people, and then we, you know, got rid of slavery, and then we're like, alright guys, we're even now. When it clearly doesn't work that way, because a lot of people had already gotten all of this land, they already started all of these businesses, and then you just had people of color come out, and they just... It's like joining a race when someone has already been running it for 2 hours, and you have to start from the finish line. It's not really fair. And there are a lot of conversations on how you can deal with that. Reparations is one conversation. It's a tricky one. I don't see a problem with taxing people, like, especially taxing the rich. Like, for one, a lot of these issues could be improved. I'm not going to say solved, but if the rich were massively more taxed and we had more social policies and resources for people, it would go a long ways in helping close, you know, the wealth gap, because our lower end, a lot of people are like, they're working 3 jobs, 60-hour weeks in the middle of a pandemic, by the way. Meanwhile, you got people like Bezos just racking in the money to pay for what? I can't speak on behalf of... I haven't researched enough rich people to say where their money is being spent, but I know damn well they're not paying the taxes they should be. And I know that money should really be getting distributed. Yes, use the word distributed into the economy and into our lower end. You know, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You might have like a titanium chain link at the top, but if a couple of the ones in the middle and at the bottom are, you know, rusty or copper, are not made of the same material because they weren't given the funding they need to have that kind of support, then America is the chain in this allegory, by the way. I'm saying America is weak because we're not supporting everyone in the way we should be. Billionaires are bad. It's not even... Honestly... Like, you can blame billionaires to a degree for maybe not spending money, but it's not a person's job as a billionaire to right the wrong of being rich, right? It's kind of our job as a society to say billionaires shouldn't be able to just win the economy. They shouldn't just win capitalism, right? There's a point where the free market doesn't just exercise itself. Like, we have to step in and write some rules. And one of the major problems in America right now is wealth disparity, and people like... I guess it's like, I'm trying to find a better word from wealth disparity, but basically, it's dragons sitting on piles of gold. Like, some people might point out and say that it's like, there's there's still like, I don't know. It's class warfare. It's people trying to say, it's people trying to put it on the, trying to watch my words here. It's rich people trying to make the middle class and the lower class fight amongst each other so that they won't, you know, be targeted. Or rather, they won't have the heat on them when it comes to, like, governance. And I know that's kind of like a general explanation that doesn't super convey it well. That's the kind of thing I need to think about more and develop my... Not develop my stance, but develop how I would explain it before I say it. Because I don't want to give a bad explanation. Rich people bad? Listen, man, I just think that some of the money would go a long way in helping our lower end. Let's put it that way. Hi. I'm just gonna get invested in this game of Team Fortress 2 for a moment while I organize my thoughts and feelings. I'm thinking of like what other political and like philosophical things I can talk about. I feel like I've tackled a lot of the big conversational points that I would usually go to. If anyone has some like philosophical or religious or societal hot takes, I welcome them in chat. Talk about Israel. I don't know enough about world politics and non-U.S. politics to talk about it. You could like maybe give me your opinion, but I couldn't in good faith talk about that and say that like I'm not comfortable talking about it right now. I got to do my research. Damn, my chat is quick. I can't even read it. Gun ownership? That is a tricky one. So, I'm gonna preface, this is my personal opinion. Guns make me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not the kind of person that would want to really own a firearm. I understand why people feel a right to have a firearm. I think, like... I think in the long run, I don't think everyone having a gun is a solution. Just to like tackle that kind of argument, I don't think saying everyone should have a gun is the right way to look at it. But I would say people don't need assault rifles. People don't need the kind of guns that are designed for killing, like for going to war. Like if you want to have a hunting rifle or, you know, even a pistol, I can see your point. I get it. But there's no need for people to be having guns that can unload with that kind of firepower. Just, I don't see a need for it. But then the tricky part of that is some people already own firearms like that. So do you try and take them away, or do you just not let anyone else buy them? And like there are some systems where people say maybe we can buy back all of the assault rifles. Like, all right, so assault rifles are banned, and anyone that owns them, you can get like a lump sum to hand it in. Some people argue, well, there's going to be a black market, and they're going to exist, and people are going to buy them no matter what. Like, they're already out there. I think you can 3D print gun parts. No matter what you do, you're not going to get rid of all the guns. I totally get that point. We're too deep in to just like hit the undo button on that. And that's what makes it so tricky. Like, if you could undo button, then yeah, I think maybe not having gun culture would have been, in the long run, beneficial. And like, I've shot a gun before. I've gone to a shooting range and like shot a pistol at a target. I've shot a shotgun at like a medium range target. I understand hunting. I understand as like an animal, we evolved to have to like catch prey. So as a pastime, I understand that there are some animals that you literally have to just for the sake of, what's the word? I'm trying to find the right words here. They need to be hunted, like, just so that they won't kill a certain amount of animals. Like, they have to be, their population has to be... Like, you can't have too many... I'm trying to think of an example, but I don't know of any. Like, invasive species, yeah. There are certain examples in society where you have to, hunt certain species, so it makes sense that you can have guns to do that. I think those activities are fine, but I don't think everyone needs a gun just, you know, when they're walking down the street. But I'm not really touching the argument with a 10-foot pole on whether you take the guns away or what you even do to handle that. I'm not educated enough or, you know, involved enough to really have any idea of a solution there. Trans rights, yeah. I've said it a few times. I don't mind saying it again. Just know if I don't read it out, it's just because I've already read it a few times. I'm trying to not like zigzag my conversation points too much that I lose people. That's all. The real problem is the NRA, not guns. I can see that. There are people that try to... I don't know enough about the NRA. I can't speak about it yet. I have to do my research, but I've heard something of that. Gun culture is more of a problem than the guns themselves. I think like having a higher standard for who can get a gun, I think that's valid. I don't know what the current standard is for getting a firearm, or whether it's like not high enough or too low or anything. I think, like, if you want to focus on that in terms of gun control, like, alright, if guns are going to be in society, let's at least make sure the people getting them are, people that can be trusted with a firearm. BLM opinions? Positive. I think BLM, Black Lives Matter, is a very good, valid movement. There are people that have tried to frame it negatively as if the bad actors who just show up at protests and start shit as if that somehow reflects on the movement itself. It's positive. Like I was saying earlier, black people grow through way more shit than white people do in this country, like just as a fact. And they need to, I don't know, it needs to be a conversation. We can't just pretend that, you know, everyone's on even footing and that police violence isn't a major problem. Because there are a lot of bad cops that shoot black people. They shoot people in general, but at a much higher rate. Black and minority people get killed by cops, and then the cops just get transferred to a different city or whatever, and they don't lose their job. Shit like that. Like, why are we not holding these people accountable? That's kind of where... Funny, Gib. Those kind of movements originate from, because we have these levels of discrimination in our police force that our police force doesn't want to deal with. That's the whole idea of boo. I know this is a controversial one, but like the idea of ACAB is that good cops don't hold bad cops to the right standard. Like, they notice the bad cops do bad shit, but they don't go through measures to get them removed from the force. Stuff like that is where the conversation really arises. I think, like, the cops in general, I don't know how many of you know this, I'm gonna be careful with my words here because I don't have all of the details, but like the origin of police in America was like right after slavery ended, and it was to it was overwhelmingly to keep eyes not on the white people in society, but on all of the newly freed slaves. Which, if that's where the police originate in your country, it makes you stop and wonder, like, huh, are there problems like that that still exist in the police force? It was earlier. The citation needed on when, like, police first began, but there are direct ties between the ending of slavery and the rise of, like, police. Not police state, but, like, more policing going on in America. It's, tricky. I'm trying to form my thoughts right now, if you're wondering why I'm curious. Or, if I'm quiet. I'm of the opinion that we don't need to have a guy with a gun show up for a lot of the disputes that happen in America. I think we should have, cough cough, social services, where if someone's, you know, if someone's clearly on drugs and they're out in public, they don't need someone with a gun to come show up and point it at them and try to, quote-unquote, de-escalate the situation. I think we need someone that's trained to help people show up and say, sir, or sir, person, being, what can I do to help you? What, like, are you going through a tough time? I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here to try and help. What can I do? We need people trained in that department. A taser? Well, that's just replacing, like, tasers exist, and so do rubber bullets. There are a lot of cops that just shoot rubber bullets. You're supposed to shoot them towards the ground and bounce them, so they bounce back up. So the impact is lessened. But there are cops that just shoot the rubber bullet right at their target, which defeats the purpose of it. Tasers are less lethal, but I don't know enough on, like, how often we send people with just a taser and not a gun. A lot of these people, when they see a cop show up, they get more anxious and nervous, usually because they know that they're armed, especially if you're a minority. If a police officer shows up, you don't know, like, what this dude's agenda is. You don't know if you're gonna get shot in the next 20 minutes. It's, again, as where I live, all things considered, I can't speak to the lived experience. I've been pretty privileged. I'm just a white guy who lives with his parents and self-employed, more or less. So I can't speak to the average lived experience. I just know that it's a widely discussed issue that a lot of the country tries to pretend isn't happening, when they should really try to at least be aware of it. Whatever your opinion is on gun control and, whether, you know, I think it's an undeniable fact that, like, racial discrimination exists, but wherever your viewpoint lies, I think you should at least be educated on it. Can we get some, I don't know. I don't have... So the problem is I usually stream on Twitch, where I have moderators. So if you see any, bad messages in chat, I apologize. I want positivity here. Again, I'm all about humanity and, trying to understand the situation, not just make light of it. Slow mode? I truthfully don't even know how to turn slow mode on. And it doesn't look like it's an option here. No funk, no politic. I'm a political person. I'm not going to censor my political views just because the people that want to, like, yell over me and not maybe not to me, but people that have no interest in actually listening to these problems in America, and they just want to get a high five from their racist friends. Those people aren't interested in things getting better. What problems? Scroll through the VOD. I think I've listed at least like 4 or 5 already. Hey chat, can I get a BLM heart? Just spam BLM heart in chat right now. If you do, I'll upload tomorrow. I won't. Sorry, I should go back and say that I can't promise I'll upload tomorrow. But it would... BLM. Thank you. Is... Again, I want things to be positive and focused on improvement. Like, there's always going to be some people that, you know, try to interject, but I think the important thing is having the conversation so that reasonable people can walk away with, like, some newfound perspective or deeper understanding. I can't promise that I'll upload anytime soon. Yeah, been a busy few months for me. I would love to talk more openly about how I've been spending my last few months. A lot of it is private, like personal stuff that I'm just trying to like work through and get handled. But once I'm situated, I'd like to be more like open and vocal again with my, you know, my platforms. Trying to think of any other like important political conversations that I feel like warrant being had on my stream. Sorry, I started the stream just playing TF2. I didn't have like a sticky note prepared with all of the, like, the politics stuff. I've just been kind of just freeballing conversational points. The Capitol riots. So I actually did not initially follow the Capitol riots until afterwards, like the aftermath of what happened. Just because I was going through some shit in my own life, I wasn't looking at. Usually I followed. I want to like clarify. I generally am very aware of what's going on, but I didn't see the Capitol riots in real time. That's what I mean. So having a president. The problem was fundamentally that Trump had no interest in acknowledging a fair election whatsoever. Whatever happened, he was gonna say he won, and he kept doing that like months in advance of the election itself. He kept riling up his base and saying, we're gonna win, and if we don't win, it's a stolen election. And when you use that kind of that terminology, when you keep saying it's gonna be stolen no matter what to your cultish following, the more you do that, the more likely events like the Capitol riots happen, because you essentially are giving the green light to storm a government building by saying we're gonna lose us. The election's gonna be stolen. It was horrifying to watch as an American. I don't even know where to begin discussing this. I'm trying to be very aware in how I talk about this. It was not handled well by Republican senators who just tried to pretend that. So the problem was they just never wanted to hold Trump accountable for any of the shit he did, for any of the terrorism. That's what it is, by the way. The terrorism that he was inciting, the domestic terrorism. They never held him accountable. I'm organizing my my regards in my head right now. It's a YouTube chat. I apologize for anyone that wants to look at chat and be able to see like rational discourse. Just the nature of having this many viewers. There's only so much I can do to control it, especially when I don't typically stream. It says a lot about the state of a country when that many people feel empowered to storm a Capitol building, rather than try and get it recounted democratically and have our elected officials handle the situation. If you honestly think that it was a stolen election, there are democratic means for verifying whether or not it is. Especially when you control the Senate, control the presidency, and have that big of a following. It's not like it was still a relatively close election, all things considered. They had the means to verify that it was a legitimate election without having to resort to violence. And by egging up his base to be that empowered to act that way, to be that violent, that just shows like the problems that are going on in America. Things should never escalate to that point. But the problem is, more than half of this country isn't interested in reality and what's happening. They're interested in their team winning. And when you function on that political ideology of I want my team to win, you get blinded to facts of what is real. And that's where you get like the brainwashing of cable news. Like, all you need. So this is a big problem I have with modern America. We don't have an efficient system to get information from our government to our people. We have middlemen in the form of like cable news and political websites, forums, Reddit, these kind of places where you hear people tell you about what the government's doing, but the government isn't directly telling you what they're doing, or they have like press briefings. We should be holding like cable news and our political coverage accountable for what they say. They shouldn't be able to peddle opinion pieces as if it's fact, as if it's reality. So I can't actually find a game in TF2 just because of the search. I have to go find another community server. Give me a moment. I really hope that's a problem that gets addressed in our country. Making sure that there is a transparent conversation between our government and our people. Because if I want to understand what my local politicians are doing, like my senators, I follow them on Twitter, Ossoff and Warnock, which flipped the Senate blue, by the way. I have to follow them on Twitter, but I don't know of many good resources to follow my local politicians like Kemp, and I don't even know the name of any of my other local politicians because I don't even know where to find that information. Maybe there's an official government website or something, but I feel like there should be just a government app that any American can download and follow what their politicians are doing. And maybe even like have conversations about like, hey, we all live in X state. Do we agree on what our politicians are doing, or do we not approve of this? And our politicians could read it and get feedback. You know, the same way when I upload a video, and I get to look at a chat and hear people's opinions on the video content I make. Our politicians should be able to get direct feedback from the people that they're representing. Please stop? Absolutely not. I think it's a very valid argument. Why would you not want a direct like maybe the comparison of YouTube comments isn't the best one in conveying my point, but I still think that having TV shows peddle opinion pieces like Tucker Carlson being taken seriously as like news coverage. That kind of stuff I take problem with. It's not that those people shouldn't have a platform, but it's that they should be held accountable, and when they say shit that's wrong, they should have to go on live and say, I was wrong. Here are the facts as they are. I was spouting an opinion, but we don't have that kind of accountability in our media. And it's a scary concept because people don't like the idea of big government. But it's not, I don't think it's big government to say when everyone has their face in their phone, we should like take precautious measures to make sure that people don't get the wrong info. And that people are capable of finding non-biased sources. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what is and isn't a biased source. And I'm not going to tell you have to agree with what I say or the sources I use. But I do think all of our sources, whatever I use and whatever you use, should be held to a standard. And I think that there should be, like, official sources. I don't want to have to read articles and watch YouTube videos to get the update on what my government's doing. I want to be able to look at my phone and see a direct feed from my government to me, telling me what they're doing in like the most clear, concise way possible. And that's not currently something we have. Again, because it's to the benefit of the people in power. I look at our last president who spent 90% of his day on Twitter and golfing. Like it or not, social media is intertwined with our politics now. There is no removing social media from our politics. So the least we can do is be very aware and cautious of how it's handled, of how our politicians act on social media. Twitter didn't reel in all of the crazy shit Trump was saying for the first 3 years. They just let him go on there and say all this crazy shit. Now, I know I'm just saying crazy shit and I'm not listing one. I'll acknowledge right now I'm not citing. But it took until the last year of the presidency for them to start marking it as like, this information may not be legitimate, or it needs to be, like they would have, like, you know how YouTube, when there's a political video, there's a link under telling, like, giving you, like, more, like, a link to more information? We need more efforts like that on our social media to fact check our politicians when they're going on Twitter and saying it's going to be a stolen election. The only way we lose is if it's a stolen election. How about the scenario where you just lose because more people vote for the other guy? What about that scenario? That seems plausible to me. Maybe we shouldn't let politicians just go on and call everything that doesn't conform with what they want to happen fake. That's what I mean. Took until the last year to start getting that kind of coverage, and I really hope over the next decade we get more of that. Slow chat, I'm gonna have to look up how to turn on slow chat. Ignore the /slow chat I just typed because working off of the Twitch mindset right now. Alright, slow chat's on. 50 seconds per message. I'm gonna see if it helps. Yeah, apologies on the quality of my chat. I promise if I do further YouTube streams, I'll have to get more moderation. Send me your resumes on via email, and I'll look into it. Or if you're a mod on my Twitch, hit me up, and I can probably give you the tools to to clean up this mess in the future. Listen, everyone like is entitled to their viewpoint and opinion, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna let you come here and be bigoted in my chat. Does this server have spells on?
Soldier is calling. I've got a job for you.
Sorry, I tend to get political when I play Hightower. Man, even with slow-mo, chat's pretty quick. If nothing else, it's... I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I should handle the situation. So there's a degree of auto mod on YouTube that should handle some of this, but there's only so much I can do aside from like raising the slow chat to be a little longer. All things considered, though, it seems like for the first, like, 20 minutes or so of the political discussion, everyone was more or less rational. It's just the more controversial the points, the more bigotry kind of comes out of the woodwork. Or not even bigotry, just children trolling. Or non-political people trying to not take the situation seriously. I've been young before. Like, there are times in my life where I didn't take politics seriously. But for your benefit and for, like, for society's benefit, anyone here that's clearly trying to, like, garner a response, I just ask you, you just be aware of your own actions. Just look at what you're doing. And I don't know, just don't do it just for the sake of lulz, because that's honestly like it's out of season. I don't know how many of you have heard, but it's actually cool to care about things. I thought switching back to the Toon Link avatar would just be fitting for the return of a YouTube stream of TF2 no less. I know, strange segue from politics to Toon Link, but here we are. Politics gets boring after a while. Yeah, but it's like almost a duty as a citizen to bear through the boredom of politics, because a lot of ye old politicians want people to be bored of politics because that's less heat on them. When a politician makes like an unpopular call, like when Mitch McConnell comes out there and doesn't defend Trump but doesn't hold him accountable for his actions, he's relying on people not talking about that on Twitter. He's relying on America not having a conversation on, wow, these politicians are not setting the standard that we want. You know why? Because a lot of people view politics as boring. Because there's a lot of bureaucratic work of like stacks of paper that have to get conversed in long meetings with important information sandwiched in between relatively benign or boring or not unimportant, but not the central focus of like controversial decisions getting sandwiched in between favorable decisions just to make them not be as discussed. There have been times where I don't know how in depth I can go into this and do it justice, but there have been times like the Senate will have like 20 to 40 stack pages of I don't know, just policies that they have to discuss. And, you know, Republicans will just put on page 20, section 13, like some super controversial negative thing in between, like, you know, 3 or 4 pages of favorable policy in hopes that it just gets, like, sandwiched in and pushed through. That kind of shit happens in our politics. You know why? Because they rely on politics being boring to not have the highlight on the terrible things that are happening.
Soldier, calling. I've got a contract for you.
You're coming off as really biased? Oh, I'm biased. I'm not trying to sit here and imply by any means that I'm taking the unbiased perspective. I know where my viewpoints lie, and I know that it'll incite some people's aggression. I'm not trying to... I don't think it's, like, biased to say hold politicians accountable and have an open, transparent conversation about what they're doing. I'm not saying you have to agree with how I think politicians should act. I'm saying that politicians should be very openly showing their agenda so that the citizens they're representing know who's representing them. Because even the Republican politicians that I don't necessarily agree with, they still represent me because they vote on these policies, and they oftentimes have decided whether or not they go through. Politicians represent everyone, regardless of where you lie on the political spectrum. Every one of them needs to be held to the same level of scrutiny. This isn't really as relevant to my last point, but the Electoral College should be abolished. It's like a 400-year-old system where we would send people on horseback to deliver the message on behalf of their state. And we now live in a time where everyone is connected by the internet. We do not need the Electoral College. Or if nothing else, it should not be a deciding factor of who wins. What should decide who wins an election is whoever the most people vote for. Just objectively. Like, you know who should represent the people? Whoever most of the people want to represent them. And, the question is, how do we get there? Because I think every Republican, for like the last 10 or 20 years has only won by Electoral College. And they generally did not win the popular vote. Which says a lot about, like, how broken our system is when the person who doesn't get the most votes wins. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to organize my regards. I'm trying to think about what else I can say about the Electoral College. Like, it's not even necessarily that it should be replaced with a system. It should really just be whoever wins popular vote. That's about as much as I can say. Or think to say, at least. Give me a moment. Hi. Sorry, I'm a VTuber now, and soon you will be too. In the future, everyone will be VTubers. But that's just a theory. Thank you, X. I appreciate it. Yeah, as I've gotten older, I've kind of found that taking this kind of stuff seriously is more interesting for me. Like, I'm more invested in taking it seriously than I am, you know, just trying to make jokes out of it. Because honestly, the stakes of politics is too high. There's too many people affected. Thoughts on the two-party system? It's flawed. A lot of other countries don't have this problem. They have multiple viable parties. But we're stuck with the two-party system just because ranked choice should really be how our politics works, which I can't explain ranked choice in a super articulate way. But basically, voting third party is almost like throwing away your vote right now in a lot of general elections. Even on, like, local elections. But there's a couple of scenarios where, like, being an independent works. But in general, voting third party is, like, you're not even in the running. And there's a lot of reasons for that. For one, money in politics allows the two major parties to just have all of the advertisement space. Two, you should really be able to, like, have... What ranked choice voting, I might butcher the explanation here, but it's... Like, you'll have a most preferable vote, and if that person doesn't win, or they don't get the nomination or whatever, then you can have a second most preferable vote. That way, you aren't throwing away your vote per se, but you can still put your vote towards, like, a non-two-party candidate. Like, there were some people who were saying Bernie needed to run third party so that he could expand the third party as a platform. But that's just, there's too many people that are already beholden to red versus blue. And it's not really plausible. Especially not, it's not a realistic timeline. Like, maybe we could get a third party viable over, like, the next 40 years of building the platform. But climate change is such a pertinent issue. We can't rely on losing 5 elections and then winning the 6th, you know? You just have to go through the two-party system and be the kind of politician that the people would want representing them, even if it's within the two-party system. Which, again, I know if you don't follow politics, that might not be the best explanation, but basically we're very deep into we're very entrenched in our pre-existing system, and no one's really come up with a good way to break the deadlock that we have. But I would hope that the rise of, like, social media would make it a bit more viable. Because I can understand before the internet why people would just agree to such a terrible, like, a fundamentally flawed system. The problem with the two-party system is that sometimes it's a lesser of two evils vote. And sometimes, like, there's a clear evil, and then there's just, like, the begrudging, alright, the flavorless option, so to speak. Because, like, if you've been here the last hour, you know that I'm a pretty progressive person, but the Democrats don't speak super kindly to progressive policies because they're not totally in line with big business, which the Democratic Party does align itself with. But I can't vote independent because they never win. So either I have to vote for progressives that are in the blue party. They don't exist in the red party. There might be like moderate candidates, and there might be people who actually are progressive. I'm not going to write off, because that is me showing my evident bias. But the popular platform, my options are limited, is the point I'm trying to say. Like, my kind of politicians they just don't get the big stage often. I'm hoping with the rise of social media, maybe, as, you know, more Zoomers get involved in politics, and maybe some of the older people start retiring and getting out of it, so opening Senate seats and such. Hopefully, we'll see more progressive politicians with a big platform. Like, they won't have to rely on corporate donations to get elected. They won't have, because they'll be able to just organically get in from word of mouth, or if nothing else, get their foot in the door. Again, I say this all with a clear understanding that I'm biased, and there are definitely people that are going to disagree with me. I just want you to know, it's not that I think you need to change your viewpoint. It's that I think everyone should be able to, like, everyone should have the chance to, like,
Soldier, calling. There will be medals given out for this one.
to get the big stage. You shouldn't just, like, richest person gets elected. Because that's kind of how our system has happened for a while. A lot of local elections happened because, someone just happened to have the money to get the coverage they needed. That, alongside voter suppression and the like. But I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself and not really add much to the conversation, so I'm just gonna go quiet for a moment and reorganize. How can you balance the power between bigger and smaller states? I'm not totally sure what you mean by that, but states with higher populations should logically, I don't, like, the Electoral College is a problem because a lot of these flyover states that have, like, less than 1 million or however many population get the same voting power as, California or Florida or something. Like, high population states that have higher density of people living together. These flyover states with less people shouldn't have the same amount of power, the same amount of voting power, because because it represents less of the people. That's about as, like, simply as I can put it. When did I get into politics? Around, like, 2017. Like, 2016's election, I loosely followed, but I didn't know much about it. But seeing all the shit that Trump was allowed to get away with by my country, not even just, like, what he said or what happened, or what was his first impeachment for? The favor. I'm trying to think of the technical term for it. That word that no one can remember what it means. All of that shit that happened is what really got me into politics. Quid pro quo. That's the term I was thinking of. Basically, he was withholding foreign aid in exchange for a personal favor. He wanted to dig up dirt on Biden. And he was holding up foreign aid that Congress had already approved. Which is illegal, by the way. A president's not allowed to do that. And then our Senate, Congress impeached him, and then the Senate didn't hold him accountable for it. They didn't remove him from office. I don't know if there's any other level of punishment a president could get for impeachment, but I know that he did not really get punished at all. And then Uh, the second impeachment was even more of a mess. So the problem with the first, not the problem, but the first impeachment, people that aren't politically savvy probably could not follow quite as well the reason he was being impeached. But the second impeachment was very clear. Like, he got up on stage, told everyone to go to the Capitol. He repeatedly said that it was going to be a stolen election and that you have to show force and power and strength, quote unquote. And he tweeted that this is like, he was almost like an abuser, saying like, this is what happens when the election's stolen. Like, he wasn't saying everyone stop storming the Capitol. He was saying like, this is what happens. He was doing egregious shit as the president, and we didn't hold him accountable. That's like where my frustration comes from, as does most of the country's, or at least much of it. I think I was on a point there, but I forgot what I was talking about. Wait, yeah, so he didn't get impeached during... His second impeachment didn't happen until after he was out of office, because McConnell and the Republican crew said, like, I don't know if I can speak on this, but they said, like, in the middle of an election you can't impeach, like, you can't impeach a president because it's too, like, it's not impartial or some bullshit. And then he lost the election, and then he got impeached, and then they didn't actually hold him accountable. I'm gonna cut myself off on explaining it just because I don't feel like I can do it justice. But basically, more of the same pussyfooting by Republicans. Funk, nothing you have said is based on facts. These are emotional beliefs and don't hold up any real or legal regards. How is it an emotional belief that Trump said, I need a favor in exchange for foreign aid? That's not an emotional belief. That is stealing an objective fact. If you want to be more specific and poke a hole in, like, one of my emotional beliefs, I welcome it. But you're just writing off everything I've said as not factual, when I've given multiple things that were, like, straight up quoted within Senate and Congress. And that's what I mean. Like, that. I'm not gonna say that maybe you didn't view it that way, but you're responding by just saying I'm not right. You're saying I'm incorrect without saying why I'm, like, without pointing out what I did was incorrect. You can't just say... I feel like I'm over-explaining. You can't just say it's emotional belief and not point out what is the emotional belief. Because that's just making yourself feel like you disproved me without it actually disproving me. The substance of my argument. You haven't made any arguments? Well, it's not that I was trying to make an argument. It's that I was trying to share my viewpoint of the modern state of America. It's not that I'm trying to argue against anything. It's that I'm saying... I've talked about a dozen things. So you have... If you're gonna say those things, I need you to be specific. Like, when you say I haven't made an argument, what do you mean? Are you referring to the impeachments? Are you referring to, like, what I was talking about, getting information, the coverage of politics, of cable news and all that? What specifically? I know, like, this is me trying to have a conversation right now. I want to understand what you disagree with me on, or what you think that what the flaw in my argument is. but you're not giving me anything to respond to. You're just saying that I'm wrong without giving me anything to respond to, which is a big problem in modern politics, because a lot of people just turn on the news and the news says your opponents are wrong and we are right. And if you ever meet one of your opponents anecdotally in real life, just say that they're wrong. Like, that's not a conversation. I want to look at my chat. It's not even that I want to look at my chat and see agreement. It's that I want to see, Funk, I disagree with you on this point because XYZ. That's my little tangent on what I expect of chat. Because I don't want to be in an information bubble. I should clarify, I don't want to, like, it's not, I understand that I'm biased, but I don't want to only hear my side. I want to hear the other side's argument or the other side's take. It's just that I found that when I disagree with them, it's like on a deep-rooted level. Like, I haven't heard a compelling counter-argument is how I should say it. I haven't heard a compelling counter-argument. I've heard a lot of "you're wrong, Funk," but I haven't heard this is why you're wrong. Another YouTuber ruined by politics. What's ruined about it? I feel politically active. I feel more involved with the society I live in. That's not, you might like, in all of the videos I've made, I haven't, it's not like I make political videos, and if I did, it's my choice, you know? You're right to have your opinion on whether you like the content, but that, it just seems, again, it seems like you're just saying, I don't know. That doesn't seem fair to me. That's all. It doesn't seem like you're being fair to me. I learned to never get involved in politics. You should. If you want to understand the world you live in, you need to understand the systems which govern it. And if you want to come to my stream and not hear politics, I apologize. I get it. I understand. But it's, you know, all the same. You know, it's America. I'm allowed to go live and talk about what I'm interested in, even if it's not video games. And if you're not comfortable with that, you know, you can close the stream. I'm sure I'll stream again, and I'll have less political or even non-political streams. But, you know, I'm allowed to go live and talk about this. Like, if you guys really want me to sit here and school you, do you remember back in the day when every YouTuber was talking about how, like, they would leave TF2, or they would leave Overwatch, or they would leave some video game and they would get flack for not doing what they're known for? Like, I liked it when you made this content. It's kind of the same argument, saying, I don't like seeing political funk because it's different content. Alright, you're allowed to miss that, but I'm allowed to still change the format. That's just how it is. Thoughts on Splatoon 3? Actually, genuinely excited. Love Splatoon 2. Underrated Nintendo PvP game. Would highly recommend if you have a Switch. I couldn't tell if it was going to be like open world or if that's just like a campaign. Like, I know it's going to be the same formula of PvP, but I was wondering what like the train station stuff is. I'm curious if they're going to do something interesting with the campaign. For the time being, though, really fun game. Don't have much to say about it, though. It's just ink guns. I got no opinions on Mithra and Pyra. I never played whatever game they're from. Pancakes or waffles? Waffles. Because, waffles are pre-designed with containers for the syrup. But it's honestly pretty even. Like, there are plenty of days where I'm more in a pancake mood, but I think between the two, a good Belgian waffle would be my pick of breakfast. My main in Smash Bros is Zero Suit Samus and Toon Link. I kind of go between each of them. But I haven't played that much Smash recently, though. Favorite VTuber? You're looking at him. Oh, I gotta say, I'm feeling like my empty stomach right now. I don't know how to describe feeling an empty stomach, but like I can feel the presence of it. I might conclude the stream relatively soon, just so I can go make myself food. The person bringing up breakfast made me hungry. Why did I decide to be a VTuber? I just thought it was the right moment. I just thought it was the right moment to return to my roots. Jordan Peterson opinions? I don't know anything about Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I don't know anything about him, honestly. I want to give like a general opinion. I wasn't super into like... I understand where Jordan Peterson comes from, but I didn't really agree with I can't give any examples, so I don't want to talk about it. I'm indifferent. I'm impassive. Not really my kind of guy. But I also don't know much at all. Don't think it's my kind of speaker, though. I don't mind having sword-based fighters in Smash, but it just seems like the choices they've been doing are... Like, Sephiroth, I'm totally down with. Mithra and Pyra seems... It seems like they passed up a lot of great options for the sake of I don't even know. I'm not even sure what Sakurai's development perspective was in picking that. Like, maybe it was something to do with like having a female rep, but that feels like unfair to Sakurai. I feel like he has a more thorough decision-making process for the fighter pass. I just wish someone more iconic had gotten the slot, that's all. It was Nintendo's choice. That actually would make sense. I've heard that Sakurai tends to like make the decisions on who gets added, but Nintendo gets to like pitch options. So I would totally believe that Mithra was one of Nintendo's pitches. Ted Cruz is a joke. That's my opinion, Joshua. This state like had a power out and like a massive cold I don't know, a cold front, and he went to Cancun just in the middle of it. He went on vacation while his entire state needed him actively in the office. And those kind of politicians, the people who are just there to entrench the people around them and their constituents, but not the people that they represent. That bothers me. I don't think those people should be politicians. The Ted Cruz types. Unfortunate. Will you watch the Titanfall 2 speedrun in March? The speedrun tournament, rather. Yeah, I saw in the Discord you mentioned that, but I haven't looked into the actual event itself. I'd have to look into it. It looks that sounds something up my alley. I hadn't given it any thought prior to you mentioning it. Thoughts on immigration laws? ICE should be abolished. We should not be separating families. We should not be locking people up in cages. Now, I understand in the midst of a pandemic, like, why maybe it's sort of a difficult conversation, but I'm all for letting people come to America. That's kind of what America was founded on, opportunity. We should not be... ICE is a problem. It's flawed. I wish I had a more specific opinion that I could share. I don't know enough about, like, how you go about solving the issue, like where the first step of that is. All I know is that people should not be in cages, and kids should not be taken away from their parents. And I think there's a lot of deep-rooted xenophobia in America that's, like, unwarranted. Like, there's a lot of people terrified of immigrants coming here and somehow doing bad things, even though a majority of these immigrants that are migrating here are coming for better opportunity to be a part of the country. They're not going to try and mess that up by being bad people, getting caught and deported. They're going to come here with the intent of building a life. So why on earth would be harboring all of these xenophobic policies? It's literally what America was founded on. The immigration system is intentionally... This is a comment in the chat. The immigration system is intentionally made to create a perpetual underclass of exploitable workers. It certainly seems to be a byproduct of it, if nothing else. It's like, it seems like there is a very vested effort to deny higher opportunity to immigrants, or at least to frame it as if... I don't know, like, as if they're only... I'm not educated enough to speak on this. I acknowledge what you say. You've given me something to think about. And I'll just leave it at that. Probably, like, the most fair viewpoint I could take. Alright, I have 5 more lives, and then I'm gonna end the stream. So start counting every time I 1. Talk about UBI. Oh, we need UBI. I know, like, the pandemic kind of, like, exacerbates all of these issues, but we have the budget, we have the means to provide everyone in America, like, some standard of income. Really, it bothers me that we spend like 10 times as much as the next country on military. We really need to cut our military budget and put that towards social policies, one of which would be UBI. I'm trying to think of... I don't just want to say because people are finding it hard to get work in the pandemic. For standards of living, the minimum wage hasn't gone up. So UBI would be a step into helping people not have to overexert themselves just to make ends meet. Really, there's room for both UBI and raising the minimum wage. But if you're gonna do anything, at the very least, let's make sure everyone in the country can find housing and, you know, cover their food. I actually, who is it? Andrew Yang. Now, I was all for Bernie, but I had a respect for Andrew Yang for making UBI such a, like, he brought it to the stage of conversation. Before Yang, like, real, like, I don't know how much of it can be attributed to Yang solely, but people are actually talking about it now. UBI, like, he coined that term, if I remember correctly. It needs to be a conversation. I think that was 4. Let's do 2 more lives, because I lost track. It broke my heart when Yang. I know I'm just dredging up the past here, but he didn't support. He didn't back Bernie when he dropped out. That broke my heart. But I just try to live in the present now. It doesn't really matter at this point. He also talked about automation a lot. Just fun fact. By the way, if you're like curious what politics of the future is gonna be, I'm pretty sure that automation is gonna be like way bigger a deal than anyone talks about right now. That's not even a controversial take. That's why we need the progressive politicians. So when we're all out of jobs, so to go back to the UBI thing, when the robots or the computers replace all of our factory jobs and our, you know, transportation jobs, etc., there's gonna be VTubers who are robots. I'm gonna be out of a job. When all of that happens, how are people going to pay for food and rent and etc., etc.? UBI would be a pretty goddamn good solution. Like, hey, all of the workforce is automated, but we all still make money, so the economy can still function and move. I think that's going to be a big deal in the future. I think that's why UBI, even if right now maybe you don't think UBI is something that needs to be discussed, I think sooner or later we're all going to be talking about it, just out of necessity. Thoughts on the anarchist ideology? I think you gotta fix the system by, like, understanding it and improving it. I don't think you can just burn it all down. Because if you break the system, what are you building back up from? You're building back up from rubble. You don't have stable ground. And we don't have the time frame to clean up that kind of mess. We can't really... I don't like the anarchist ideology because the urgency of climate change, the urgency of people dying through the pandemic, all of these problems just need to be addressed. And anarchy does not propose a solution to these concerns. Anarchy proposes that the system we have is flawed, but we all already knew that. That's not what anarchism is. If there's a difference... if there's a different concept of what anarchism is, then I'm all for at least looking into it, but that's not really the kind of mindset I tend to focus on. I'm out of lives? No, it's alright. I'm gonna put one more quarter in. That was me putting a quarter into Team Fortress 2. Into my, my ODD slot. Oh, hi, Sentry. Alright, one more. What political ideology do you most closely identify with? Whatever Bernie is. Social... I don't know political ideologies. Like, if you mean like the Ann Prim kind of stuff, I don't. That's the only one I heard of out of a meme, and I don't really conform to that. I'm a futurist. I want to future-proof everything, and I want to embrace technology and focus on social aspects of governance. So whatever that is, like social democracy, democratic socialism. I would say social democracy out of those two. But I don't know if that applies. Futurism isn't a political ideology. I want to clarify. That's just one of the words I was using to try and convey the point I was making. What games have you been playing recently? Not that many. Just a lot of Smite. Valheim, I played a bit of it with Tyke for like a few hours. I finished Little Nightmares 2. I played the first one on stream. I played the second one. It was a great game. Ending a bit odd, but the game itself I enjoyed. What do you think about immortality slash life extension tech? I have to scroll up. My chat's too fast. I gotta scroll up to read it. There's some promising mice trials and research. Yeah, I saw a couple of those, but I don't know the details. I love the idea of, like, extending our lives and sort of breaking out of the shackles. Like, a lot of people say, like, death is a certainty, and it's like it's almost a normal, like, it's just a part of existence, like, where, like, death is just an eventuality. I like to deny that. I like to reject that reality. I think humanity can be hacked in such a way that we can, you know, mind upload. I don't want to say that we're gonna live to see it, but I think it's possible that we live to see a day where the mind can be uploaded. And it's not just because there's this conundrum, right? Of if you upload the mind, even piece by piece, is it still you at the end of it, or is it just like a copy of you? I think so. What I wonder is, like, what is it when you're dreaming? Because if you know me, I've had a lot of lucid dreams where I feel like I'm literally there. And I don't know how I felt like I was there. And I wake up with the memory, like very vivid memory of the dream. So that makes me think the brain is more flexible than we give it credit. Like, if I can pop out from my bed into some, like, simulated space inside my head, then also, if I can go from my brain into, like, a little play space in my head, I think that I can transfer my brain from the physical world into some, like, environment. I think it's possible. And to wrap it back to the simulation hypothesis, if the world is like a simulation already, then it's like 100% possible. Like, no, there's no doubt in my mind that we can pop out of the physical world, or maybe like it's not even leaving the physical world, but it's just entering like a different dimension of it. I don't. That's not a good explanation. Just entering, like, I don't know. I think you can permanently inhabit somewhere else that isn't just here. But I think we have to, like, create it. I don't think it's, like, necessarily something we have to just, like, plug into. I think it's something we as humans have to learn to develop and craft and, you know, build the bridge and the destination, I guess. But I think it's possible. And honestly, I think it's within the next 80 years. I think, if not immortality... Now, I do think we'll be able to I do think we'll be able to get rid of, like, natural death. Like, death of old age, death of disease, death of, death of, like, physical injury. I think that can easily be undone just by, like, genetic editing. The problem is, like, what if you just get hit by a car or have a fatal injury to the head that can't be just, like, patched up? That's where That's where the idea of like mind uploading or like having backups or something would come in handy. Like if the world is a simulation, maybe we could have backups. That's not to say like it already exists, but maybe, I don't know, we can get to a point where even if you get a fatal injury, you can kind of just wake up afterwards and you still feel like you're the perceived experience is like a straight line. It's not that one line ends and another line begins somewhere. It's like the two lines attach, if that makes sense. It's probably not the best explanation, but the idea is like we don't have to just end. I think we can get there. Raided. Funk, if we were in a simulation, they'd make sure that we wouldn't have any tech that would let us see the simulation. Why? Maybe that's the point of our existence. Maybe, like, the simulation does have, like, a higher end, or, like, a back end, but it's just not accessible to us right now. Maybe, like, there's a back end to reality, but we just haven't, decoded it, or something. And maybe once we do decode it, we'll essentially be, like, the gods of our own reality. Or at least, like, we'll have more, say on how things happen. I don't know how to articulate it. I want to read that again so I don't sound stupid. Man, a lot of you are talking. Thank you. What I mean to say is I don't think there's an intentional hiding of, like, the simulation's backend. I think it's just we're so early in the universe that we haven't, like, found the doorway into it. Figuratively speaking. Like, the console. We haven't found a way to access the console of the universe. I don't think it's that the universe is hiding its console. I just think, like, we haven't invented it, so to speak. Alright, one more question, and then I'm gonna call it. Or one more message I'll read. What about the idea that there can be two different versions of you existing at the same time? So, I'm not a super big fan of multiverse theory, because to me that kind of seems like I don't see the purpose of running... Like, if the universe is a simulation, I don't see the purpose of running that many copies. Like, why wouldn't you just have one, main base copy, and then you can just, like, repeat it on, like, faster speeds or whatever? But what I do think is you could, like, overclock the brain, so, like, you could clone it and then create an AI version of yourself. So it'd be, like, an effective assistant. So, like, for example, like, I have a lot of mental knowledge of, like, video editing, and, I don't know, like, musical composition, but I still have to rely on my fingers to, like, do all of the inputting and stuff. But I think if we could interface brains with technology, maybe you could have, like, you could sort of estimate. You could like King Crimson yourself, effectively, where I don't know. I want to be able to collaborate with like a technological clone of myself, I think is what I'm trying to say. What that means, you can interpret on your own, because frankly, I'm just speaking gibberish. I'm not speaking gibberish, but I don't know how to articulate it more thoroughly. But I don't think there's, like, two copies of myself existing in tandem, per se. I think there's only one self. But I think that self could be replicated and, you know, like, maybe in the future... Like, how many of you have seen Futurama? They have the Hall of Presidential Heads just in jars of water. Maybe in the future we'll have something like that, but instead of jars of water, it'll just be a screen with like the president's face V-tubing in a hallway, and you can talk to it and interact with it like 100 years down the line. I could see that being a thing. And if you do that in as well as like life extension and immortality or whatever, you would have like that hallway president while that president is still alive. So there would effectively be 2 copies of that person in existence. That would be kind of an example of what you're saying. Alright, I'm out of quarters, guys. I think I'm gonna have to end it there, because I'm all out of FUNKes. But thank you for coming out. We had a lot of interesting discussions. Anyone that, like, rationally listened to what I said and responded so, I thank you, genuinely. I enjoy being able to use my platform to talk openly about the stuff I'm passionate about. Usually I just, like, talk about video games and try not to, like, bum people out. But I'm pretty, like, passionate about this kind of stuff. I enjoy going live and talking about it. I'm not sure when my next stream will be, but you'll definitely see me again. I don't know. You know where to find me. You're subscribed to my YouTube, or at least you found me through the recommended or whatever. So, I think I'll see everyone around. I'm gonna call it there. Register to vote. Because our country is so fucked, you don't automatically get registered to vote. Make sure you're registered. Even if you're like a doomer and you don't care about politics, you're gonna regret it when the big businesses automate all of the jobs and you're out of work and you're hoping the government pays your checks. You're gonna wish that you voted in those candidates then. Anyways, that's it. Bye-bye. Thank you for giving me your time of day, and thank you anyone that donated. I saw a lot of them roll through. I didn't, like, point them out, but very much appreciated. Bye-bye.
Alright.